Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Syntegrator, and this is part 3 of BT's Kiwi-106. And this is BT's module board. This is the module board from inside his Juno 106. And this is where the 6 filter chips that make up do all the filtering for the voices 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 live. And it's where the 3 wave chips 1, 2, and 3 live. Now you'll notice that they're all gone right now. The wave chips have been removed, those stock Roland ones, and the stock Roland filter chips, which as we saw in the previous video were actually stripped already and remounted, have been removed, and in their place I have sockets. And the reason I always socket these, and these are high quality gold plated sockets so they don't have any issues with connectivity, is that the Analog Renaissance replacement chips already have pins, so they mate very nicely in these socketed positions. And hey, you know, I mean, if you ever do have a filter chip failure in the future, you'd like to be able to just pull out the damaged one or the failed one and replace it. It's not very likely that a chip's going to fail, especially not if it's an Analog Renaissance replacement, because that's brand new and never been coated in the plastic that kills them, which is what the problem was for the original Rolands. But call it a habit, call it tradition, I don't know. I've got sockets in here for that. But anyway, all the voice chip stuff we'll be doing in a separate step. One dedicated to showing off these incredible Analog Renaissance filter and wave chips. Right now, we're looking at this, which is of course the assigner chip. Now, what you should know is that the original CPU board, and in fact I've got an original CPU handy, so let me just grab this. This is an original CPU for a Juno 106. This isn't from BT's. This is from another, but it might as well, I mean, it's identical to the one from BT's, except for the fact there's no tape on the battery. But the two of them sit together like this in the synth, and this guy is the brains of the operation, and this is his main CPU, and he's the big thinker. He's the one who handles all the operations of your Juno 106. And then over here is his little brother on the voice module board, and he's the one who handles things like assigning the voices, and so he's like the lieutenant of the captain over here. And the two of them generally just communicate through the various wires that go along. This guy does his job, this guy does his job. Now, without this guy in the picture, with the Kiwi-106, here's the Kiwi-106 upgrade kit. It's a completely other modern 21st century processor in there, and I'll unwrap this and show it to you later in the next video when we actually put it all back together again. But its high-powered processor is a modern day Atmel processor, and it can actually handle all its own work, and it can also handle the voice assignment job. So the way it works is this. We have the Kiwi-106 CPU over here, and then there's a ribbon connector that comes over, and where this guy lives, the old school assigner CPU, he's gone, and instead the Kiwi-106 advanced processor taps right into this board and manages it in its spare time. It takes very little of its brain power to also do the other guy's job. Remember, modern processors versus 1984 processors. We're talking a massive difference in computing power. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be desoldering and removing this processor here, this old school processor, and I'm going to be mounting it in a swap back board. And what the swap back board is, this is an option that comes along with the Kiwi-106. It's an option, and it's a separate $20 option. It's not a big deal. If you don't want it, you don't have to order it, but it's there. You can get it as a bundle item along with your upgrade kit. And when you have this, it allows the installer to take the original processor and put it in the same footprint as the sockets that are going to go in. Here are the sockets here. These sockets are going to go into this position. So once these are in there, you can either socket the original CPU back in, the original assigner CPU, and then put in your original CPU board and have a Juno 106 again if you want. Or, I mean, I don't think you would, but it's always nice to be able to go back. I mean, you might say to yourself, I don't believe it. I know it sounded better as a Juno 106. If you want to find out, just do this. Your old Juno 106 will be back. But then you can remove the CPU, remove the swap back board because it's just a socket, remember, and then here is the Kiwi-106 with its socket goes in like that. So I think you understand the whole method to the madness here between the swap back board and of course these sockets here. And the other methodology, the other rationalization, the other reason we came up with the idea, because I was consulting with Kiwi Technics when the swap back was suggested, and is that when you do the Kiwi-106 upgrade on your Juno 106, you're going to have this guy kicking around. Well, you know, you don't want to throw it out. Put it on eBay, you might get 20, 30 bucks for it or something like that. But I've got to tell you, with Kiwi-106s being upgraded all over the world, the actual market value of one of these guys is dropping. Why not just take it, put it in the original packaging that your Kiwi-106 came in, close the box up, and then keep it on a shelf, along with your friend, the swap back. And then it's almost like you have, if you ever do sell your Kiwi-106, and again, I know how it is with musicians, musical gear as it is, swapping and rotating. If you ever do actually put it up for sale, you'll be able to say Kiwi-106 includes swap back and original CPU. If your buyer wants a Juno 106, doesn't want to have a 21st century keyboard, then they can actually take it back, and that's actually a benefit there of the swap back system. So I think that's kind of explained it all. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get on with the task of desoldering this guy. And again, remember, I have the full-on shop here to do this. That's one of the reasons why I offer this as a service. You can go to the Kiwi-106, Kiwi-106.com website and check the installers subpage, and we got a list of prices. So if you wanted to, you could pull your own module board out of the Juno 106. It's not a big deal. It's just a bunch of screws and some connectors, and I've got videos showing how to do that elsewhere on the site. And you can actually mail it in to me, and I'll do this for you. So if you're worried about, you know, if this is the problem between you and getting a Kiwi-106 and you really would like one, have a look at Kiwi-106.com, Kiwi-106.com, installers, /installers, or click on the installers menu. Have a look, see what the prices are. It's all pretty reasonable. I'll even do your voice chips for you as well if you want. I got rates for that. If you're in Europe, we have Analogia in Poland. Masiek and Analogia, totally, him and his team, awesome team, highly recommended. Their contact information is there. We'll be adding other people to the installers list as time goes by. I don't want to do all this myself, you know. I think that as time goes by, we're going to get more and more techs on board doing this. So your options are open to you. Okay, I've yacked enough. I'm going to put on my incredibly cool looking robo-visor, and I'm going to start doing this job. Okay, so at this point I've gone over all of these pins once, but in my experience that doesn't always do the trick. Let me just see. Oh, it did do the trick. I made sure that this guy was totally clean, and what you're looking at here with this is actually a vacuum desoldering tool. They're you know, anywhere from $300 to $500. You can get some really cheap ones, of course, from China. That may be good for a couple of runs anyway, for you know, 50 to 100. So you might gamble and say, hey, I'll try it myself, and that's cool too. I mean, it's all about learning, right? But this is what happens when you press the button. It sucks air through its barrel, and of course what I was doing, if you watched, I moved the tool around to liquefy all the solder around the leg, and then pressed the button, and it sucked it out, and there you have it. So let's move this out. Let's flip it over. And by the way, someone's asked me what am I using as the clamp, and that is the Panavice electronics workstation by Panavice, and they're panavice.com. Anyway, V-I-S-E. Okay, so here's the processor, and look at that. Wow, I totally got it out the first time. Sometimes they're a real nightmare. Sometimes I have to go around again and again and again. Okay, so with this chip liberated, and I've seen people just say, I don't care about that chip anyway, so they take a pair of side cutters to the legs and then just use a regular soldering iron to get them out, and that's fine, I suppose, as long as you're not, you're careful not to burn the traces or melt the traces or delaminate them with excessive heat. So just be on the lookout for that. You got to be careful. All right, so I am looking in the kit here, and of course the kit, oh yeah, there's also there's a wire, basically a jumper lead in the kit. I'm going to turn off the autofocus here. I'm going to turn the autofocus back on here. So this lead here is for a front panel jumpering that we do later to improve the current running through the LEDs when the panel has been upgraded with the new processor. Okay, so I have here these included socket legs, and I can just slide them in like this, and solder them in place. What I found works better, however, is if I actually mount them ahead of time onto, just get that loose. Put them ahead of time onto the actual I/O daughter card, and then that way they go in absolutely straight, and then the I/O daughter card sits absolutely straight. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, so before I put these header pins on, I'm going to actually spray a little bit of, basically it's just a tuner control cleaner and lubricant. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy. I'm just going to spray a little bit of it. Oh, or a lot of it. That's put a lot of foam, hasn't it? Okay. You could use pretty much any kind of lubricant that you would normally apply for an electrical mating surface. I'm just going to push this into the original foam and then back out. Okay, there. Now these guys are lubed up, and that's a good thing, because when I put these, it's a very, very tight fit with these pins, and I want them to at least have the facility of coming off later should I want to put on the swap back board for any reason. And just having a little bit of lubricant in there up front is a way of ensuring that that comes to pass. So I'm just going to I'm just positioning these guys on like this. As I said, these are very tight, and they're machined, they're milled pin sockets. These are not cheap. Kiwi Technics does not spare cost when it comes to things like this. Okay, so I'm just going to push down to try and get them to seat. And I can see them starting to go in. Yeah. Once they start to go, they definitely start to go. But you have to make sure that you don't push them in too far on one side and not the other. Otherwise they'll get hurt. Okay. There we go. So here we have an I/O board with its additional legs. Now when I solder these guys, the additional legs, sockets on the legs. So now when these guys are soldered in, I should be able to, should I require it, pull off this from the embedded sockets in the circuit board and then swap it out with a swap back board should I wish to do so in the future, for any reason whatsoever. And then, having got this together, I'm just going to bring our friend the module board back into the equation. The panel vise is a handy thing to have, and I'm going to move up. There we go. There we are now. Put it back where we can see it. There's the footprint where we're going to be populating, and we take a look here, and you'll see that there is a pin number 1 marking on this board, and you can. It's actually kind of a little bit self-evident if you put in the ribbon connector. So you put in the ribbon connector into this guy, and you'll see that because if you line up the little legs there, it actually, look at that, it can only be one way. And if we take a look here at the actual PCB, you'll see that where my thumb is actually the number 1, and then over here is the number 1, and there is a white dot. You can see the white dot. So that makes it really abundantly clear how this is supposed to go inside, and I'm just lining up the holes. And you know, there's a problem because these capacitors need to be bent over a little bit, and that also holds true for these ones. And give these blue ones a little bit of a push and make sure that these linear resistors aren't pointing, the resistor arrays aren't pointing totally straight up. And now there it is in place. So I can flip this over now in the pan of ice. Lock it in place with the clamp lock on the side, and here is what I need to solder. Now before I get soldering, I'm going to have to turn on my soldering iron. Let that warm up a little bit. I should have done that ahead of time. Okay, so I'll be right back with the soldering of this guy. Alright, and I've got my solder fan on with its filter, sucking in a lot of the fumes that are being generated. And this is my gun soldering, my soldering gun, and I use this basically when I don't have a hand free. I'll use this to tack down corners. So there's a corner, there's a corner, and there's a corner. Now, those 3 corners tacked. I'm not going to use the big heavy solder in the solder gun anymore. I'm just going to use a tool here to push this out of the way. Like so. And I'm going to use my really fine chip quick solder wire, which is awesome stuff. And I find that it doesn't glob up like the other stuff does. Which is always good. So here we go. And I'm just going to do, as you can see, the other pins that weren't tacked. And with them in place, I can now proceed to actually fix the ones I did before using this new solder. The better solder. You got to make sure that you get them all. And I'm taking great care not to put too much solder in either. Too much solder would leak down and actually solder the socket to the pins, and we don't want that. Okay, just doing the once over there, and they're all looking pretty good. Just get the focus going on. And let's get it up into the light and get you guys a better look. Alright, that's the best I can do. Hopefully HD will make it clear. But I'm taking a look at it through my magnifier and I can see it's all looking pretty good. Yeah. So here it is. And then next up we're going to do these voice chips. So stay with me for the next installation of BT's Kiwi-106, where we do the Analog Renaissance voice chips, the wave and filters.